The Grand Tour was a traditional trip through Europe that was undertaken by young members of the upper class accompanied by a chaperone. This custom started to develop during the 17th century, and initially it was mostly British men who were sent for this journey. It was not considered as a vacation but an educational experience which became almost a rite of passage. The Grand Tour generally lasted 3 years, and it included a long stay in Paris and France, although the most important destination was Italy, where the usual length of the stay was a year. It was essential for the educational purpose because it is in Italy that most of the cultural legacy of classical antiquity and the Renaissance could be admired. After steam-powered transportation was invented, the Grand Tour became safer and cheaper, which allowed more people to have it. Because of this, the first modern touristic guide, called Baedeker, was published and had great success. Later on, it became fashionable for young women as well to undertake this trip.
One of the most important witnesses in Italy of the Grand Tour is Vittorio Alfieri, a milestone of Italian literature. He was born in Asti from an aristocratic family, and at the age of 17, as many young nobles of the time, he made the Grand Tour, from 1767 to 1772. The Grand Tour experience can be compared to today's Erasmus because it lets young people visit different towns and different countries in order to learn cultures, art, politics, literature in Europe and to meet eminent personalities. In his long journeys through Italy and Europe, Alfieri visited Florence, Rome, Naples and Venice, cities full of Italian art and culture. After Italy, in Europe he visited France, England, Netherlands, Austria, Russia, Denmark, Sweden and Russia. He describes himself like a traveler who is always looking for something, excited to live and disappointed a short time after arrival, searching in vain for serenity and peace. When he returns home, he says, "Although people may think that after 5 years of traveling I have not brought any good fruit, I am aware that I have expanded my ideas and rectified my thoughts. This is the good result expected after a travel experience, learning about different art and cultures to improve ourselves."
One of the most important intellectuals who undertook the Grand Tour is Goethe, who in 1786 decided to come to Italy, where he stayed for 2 years. He writes about his trip in his report Italian Journey. Some of the cities visited by Goethe are Venice, Florence, Rome, Naples. Moreover, he also spent some months in Sicily. Goethe thinks that Italy without Sicily doesn't convey any message to the soul, and that the key of everything can be found anywhere but in Sicily. In Italian Journey, Goethe says that he loved the rustic and emphatic aspects of Italy, which is full of natural, fascinating, and vivid beauty. Goethe writes, "I've spent the day well, just looking and looking. It is the same in art as in life. The deeper one penetrates, the broader grows the view." What Goethe came to value most about this time was not the opportunity of seeing ancient art and architecture, but rather the opportunity of living as nearly as possible what he thought of as the ancient way of life, experiencing the benign climate and fertile setting in which human beings and nature were in harmony. Goethe decided to hide his identity during this journey to meet as many people as possible, who shared with him unusual and precious details, important to better understand the country. In fact, he meets many artists, and among them is Johann Tischbein, an important painter who is the author of Goethe's portrait. Goethe also visited Frascati, dedicating himself to several drawings, such as the ones of Villa Aldobrandini, of the Abbey of Grottaferrata, and of the Lakes Albano and Nemi.
In Italy, the Grand Tour's journey was from Venice to Sicily, going through Tuscany, Rome or Naples, to discover the legacy of classical art and Renaissance masterpieces. Venice is one of the most visited cities. The Grand Tour offered a liberal education and, as a part of the tradition, travelers acquired and collected artwork and souvenirs that would otherwise be unavailable, which gave prestige to their homes. They would meet with local artists and dealers to collect the souvenirs, like books, works of art, scientific instruments, and cultural artifacts. Many Grand tourists kept diaries and wrote letters or assembled photograph albums about their trips.
After Venice, they had spent a few months in Florence, where there was a considerable Anglo-Italian society accessible to traveling, and where the Uffizi Gallery brought together in one space monuments of Renaissance paintings and Roman sculpture. The Uffizi was an obligatory port of call when visiting Florence, a unique opportunity to admire Botticelli's Venus and the huge and breathtaking David by Michelangelo. Then they went to visit the multicolored marble, the imposing structure of the Cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore. It was precisely in the middle of the 18th century that Florence's popularity and centrality really exploded, as it was one of the most common destinations of the grand tourist trips. From Florence, the traveler went to Rome to study the ancient ruins and the masterpieces of painting, sculpture, and architecture. The exceptional importance of Rome in the Grand Tour is the result of the overlapping and mixing of important factors, the Renaissance tradition and the rediscovery of the ancient. The city for many centuries had already been the destination of pilgrims, especially during the Jubilee, because of its religious qualities as a papal state, and an attraction is the splendor of the numerous basilicas, which have always been at the center of tourist interest. Starting from the 16th century, Rome was a training place for artists who could sell statues and copies of the finest paintings. Then some travelers also visited Naples to study music and to appreciate the archaeological sites of Herculaneum and Pompeii, and perhaps Mount Vesuvius. On 24 August 79, huge quantities of ash and lapilli suddenly came out and buried the entire urban core. After the excavation, Pompeii became one of the obligatory destinations of the Grand Tour. Today, after many years, it's still possible to admire what's left of this wonderful city.